comparison with you and Nas, man. Everybody was talking about it. Now, why out of everybody you pick Nas, bro?
I didn't do it.
They asked him.
No,
they asked him a question.
You like the new song?
No.
You don't like Ace Trumpets?
What's so great about it?
It's so good.
No, you're not in my top 50. You might be in Charlemagne's top 50 and things like that,
Pusha top
but
50.
you haven't done that much for me in my life. Like, I didn't never want to be like Pusha. I never had a Pusha moment in my life.
Jim Jones chose the incorrect names to use. Legends of Escalates, and he treated them both with contempt, as if he had nothing left to lose. His music career is currently in a precarious state. Indeed, it took only that to turn the entire culture against him. Nas, he claimed, was never truly that influential. Pusha T was overrated, he claimed. He claimed to have caused Nas to go viral once more. And since what transpired next didn't seem like a typical rap feud, some claim that was the point at which he crossed a line from which he will never be able to recover. Something larger seems to be already underway. The question today is whether Jim was being publicly phased out by the very culture he helped create, or if this was just another rap ego trip gone too far. Because the statement that the Summer Jam set was cut is still circulating, and Pusha isn't finished yet. Let's go back in time and see what actually caused this gradual public downfall.
My son can't tell you one Nas record. You heard? Like, let's keep it a buck.
The quote that sent Jim into free fall was simply one sentence. Shade wasn't the only thing. Eraser was the object. Jim wasn't evaluating Nas's most recent creation. He was ignoring the full body of work left by one of the most renowned and influential hip-hop musicians.
At Nas. But remember, Nas' first record, The Barbecue, came out when I was in 11th grade. So Nas was my idol when I was young. Like, you dig? Came to dressing, the wordplay, the music, everything. I was a superior Nas fan. Period. I'd never take that away from him. But then, as I got in the game, you got to realize that your rivals will be idols, and not to take anything away from that. I developed my own style and my own lane that these kids start to gravitate towards the same way I gravitated towards Nas when I was younger and things like that. It's a whole different generation.
Let's get closer. This platform wasn't just anyone. On the Joe and Jada podcast, which is known for lighthearted banter rather than career eulogies, he dropped this bomb. And Jim doubled down with his entire chest rather than pulling it back.
I came into light and started going crazy that these kids love me. They don't really know who Nas is. If he's 22, he's born in 03.
Not all of them. Some of them know. But
You know what I mean?
A lot
Like,
of them know.
In essence, he said that his own Billboard numbers could equal or even surpass Nas's, and that Nas never meant much to the culture. To be clear, Nas is a mainstay of hip-hop and more than just a rapper. Courses at college study Illmatic. King's illness demonstrated that Ether is far from finished, and he continues to give experienced rappers nightmares. He's changing. Jim is speaking as though he simply dropped the chronic in the meantime. The absurd thing is that this had nothing to do with rap. Ego was the cause. It weighs no opinion disguised as insecurity, and the reality that he included his child in it. For example, what kind of standard are we establishing? He was quickly pulled by the internet. Every Noah's Award, every sold-out performance, and every classic album were being compared side by side on social media.
Yeah, Jimmy boy, you should have never brought this up. Y'all are only 3 years apart, and Nas is just like murdering you. You asked us to look up the stats, and here they are. Like Jim Jones, like you got a couple songs. I mean, like literally, it's a couple. But we're talking about Nas. Let me show y'all Nas's last projects. Nas been getting it in since 2018. Jimmy, when the last time you put out an album? Oh, would you look at that? You have been dropping music. You've really been dropping music. But nobody's heard it. Nobody's listening, bro.
Jim's chart statistics in the interim. This is all because he decided to change history in a way that no one requested. Nowadays, most people might walk back or, at the very least, calmed down after being shamed online for disrespecting a legend. No, Jim. Rather, he got on Nightcap, tripled down, and gave Shannon Sharpe a direct look. Nas never had the influence people think, he remarked.
Way more influential than Nas, and I don't care what nobody say. I know I made a little boo-boo when you talk about the sales and all this type of shit. I don't feel like getting into that rhetoric about where I started and where he started.
Well, you said that bullshit.
But listen, Nas was nice when I was in high school. When I was in 10th grade, Nas came out. Nas was dope. We appreciated him. He had a little bit of run.
Let's take a moment, though. Who comes in second? DMX and Jay. All three of these were in completely separate lanes. Nas was introspective, poetic, and spiritual. Jay was a corporate hustler. DMX was anarchy and suffering. It would be like comparing Future to Kendrick to compare them. Various animals, various tasks. However, it is not an opinion to claim that Nas never led the pack. Revisionist history is what that is. The crazy thing is that Jim doesn't even dispute his fandom. He acknowledges that when he was a teenager, he desired to dress.
I told you, I used to want to dress like Nas because he had a lot of fresh clothes that the hustlers used to wear and shit, and we used to see him on TV. He had one of the illest albums of all time. And then in high school when he had the barbecue and shit like that. So I'm a real fan of Nas, but he kind of lost me after the movie Belly and shit like that.
This man is disregarding a 30-year music career because of a 1998 movie. The misconception begins to set in at this point, as statistics are no longer the only consideration. It has nothing to do with opinions. Jim seems to be upset that the statistics support his claims and wants Nas to be beneath him. It has to do with placement. Jim wanted to demonstrate that he was on the same page as the GOATs. Rather, he simply expressed his insecurity over never being associated with them. Now don't assume that Jim was going to apply the brakes, because he gave us one of the most outrageous quotes of the whole thing on Bag Fuel. He went beyond simply stating that Nas had no bearing. He went beyond simply stating that Nas came in second. No, Jim went one step farther and asserted that he revived Nas's viral career.
But Nas probably never been done for him in his life. He's never been that viral at all, ever. Ever. He's never been talked about like this ever in his life.
Now, has Nas reached out to you?
You did. The last time he was in some shit like this where people were comparing when him and Jay was beating on him. You heard? You did? Like, and I don't want to talk about other people's career, but let's just get to the semantics of it.
Since the whole Nas? Okay.
Huh? I don't know Nas to have a conversation with him. You don't have a conversation, we can have that too and shit like that. You dig? Like, I don't really care.
Jim pretended that the entire society owed him gratitude for reminding us that Nas existed. The responses came right away. One fan said, "The only reason people are interviewing Nas for the clicks is because of your dumb remarks about him. That's why you're being talked about. Jim hasn't had any influence yet." Another commented, "Jim Jones's delusional disrespect for Nas is becoming unbearable. I'm over it. For stating anything like this, you don't receive any stripes." And everything still didn't add up. Nas has been active all along. 1 Grammy, 3 albums in 5 years, and numerous sold-out performances. While Jim has been. Jim genuinely believed he was establishing a pattern. In reality, he initiated the funeral procession. Let's go back to the year 2024. Icons abound among the crowd during the Louis Vuitton Spring-Summer Show in Paris. Beyoncé, Jay-Z, Rihanna, LeBron, and all the other influential people in fashion, music, and society. There are cameras everywhere. As the new leader of Louis, Pharrell is making history with his debut collection, The Beat That Abruptly Stops. However, these are clips rather than simply any instrumental. Hushi and his brother No Malice are releasing a brand new song for the first time in more than 10 years, as well as the lyrics. The change in tension was immediately apparent.
been through a lot and, you know,
Jay-Z
come out on
was
the other
feeling
side.
that
It's
what
like
he
hope.
It was more
I've
than
done.
just shade.
And
The most
there's the
prominent
blueprint.
event
The
of the
blueprint.
season coincided with the dropping of that declaration of war. And it was all in the lyrics. Everyone was aware of the person he was referring to. Jim's decision to go with Drake after being anointed an honorary Dipset member on stage in Harlem was directly satirized by pursuing a feature out of your element bar. That is the same Drake who hasn't fully recovered from Pusha's evisceration of him in the Adonis narrative. Pusha wasn't responding with a SoundCloud diss track. This was a tactic. This was Pusha staging an ambush during Paris Fashion Week. He's thinking that far ahead. Jim then pulled Pusha on Drink Champs, Rap Caviar, and Breakfast Club. He really pulled him down by claiming that Pusha wasn't even in the top 50.
5 Pusha T records right now. His records.
Yes.
His records?
Yeah.
Name
I
them.
love Pusha. Nostalgia.
Oh, you was a Pusha T fan. He's like, I didn't know he had fans like that. Can you name 5 Pusha T records? No, his records. Pusha T, I love your soul, my dog. You're not in my top 50. You might be in Charlemagne's top 50 and things like that, but you haven't done that much for me in my life. Like, I didn't never want to be like Pusha. I never had a Pusha moment in my life. I never thought, like, you dig? Like, where I'm from, niggas want to be like you if you was really that dude and that rapper and things like that.
Wanted to be like Pusha?
Shit.
He was influenced by Pusha?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's why Pusha did the Mr. Me Too record.
Okay, cool. You a very strong Pusha T fan. But what else has he bring to the game? Did he make people want to dress like him? Did he have some slang that everybody was talking like him? There would be the girls, all the girls wanted to do him. Like, what is...
Nevertheless, Pusha placed millionaires, high-end companies, and GOATs at the forefront of his retaliation rather than lowering himself to the podcast circle. Let's not overlook the layers either. The lyrics weren't the only thing at play here. The scene was the scene. The track was produced by Pharrell, the same Pharrell who has roots in both Virginia and the affluent inner circle of fashion, contributed to the creation of Clipse' whole sound. They released Chains and Whips, a song that was apparently recorded inside LV's Paris headquarters with a view of the Seine River. In an interview with the New York Times, Pharrell even pointed to the window that was installed in this room. All of this is visible as we begin to move around and gaze out the window. We're beating this system, dude. However, Nas was constructing an empire back in Queens while Pusha was playing chess in Paris. Nas was launching Resorts World Queens, a 350,000 square foot casino complex supported by a $5 billion vision, while Jim was chasing blog headlines. This isn't your typical corporate partnership. This represents NASA's long-term investments in stock, infrastructure, and generational wealth.
It's not something you wait for, it's something you build. It lives in the hands of the doers, the dreamers, the people who refuse to stand still. Resorts World is more than a casino. It's energy, it's opportunity, it's hope for the borough. A second chance for some, a first step for many. It's where community gathers, not just to win, but to build a future once imagined.
Jim Jones, meanwhile, is somewhere boasting about Summer Jam reservations, as if they were made in 2008. Dropping bars wasn't necessary for Nas. When he dropped Receipts, the hit struck much more forcefully than any diss track could. Fans picked it up right away. His post had harsh comments underneath it. Another person who is constantly yapping is concerned about going viral. Nez is out here acting like a boss. You don't need to respond when you're extremely wealthy, well-respected, and relevant. You simply let your life do the talking. Jim, meanwhile, is jeered as he exits the stage. Let us establish the scenario. 2024 summer. Jam. Jim Jones receives the chance that he has evidently been seeking all year. Crickets, however. As soon as he took the platform.
You say,
Then things become worse. Jim's act is cut short by Funkmaster Flex, the same Flex who had been one of his strongest supporters. And it struck Jim in real time, as you can see. This was supposed to be his time, but Jim didn't deliver the hits at the end of the day. So all the energy he put into this beef didn't translate. He added drama. Jim wasn't finished though, despite everything. He still had one more thing to say. It was also intimate. Following the Louis Vuitton era, Pusha kept quiet in public. However, behind the scenes, rumors began to circulate. He wasn't finished. According to people close to the Clipse, Jim will be the target of numerous surgical shots on their impending reunion album. The song was only the introduction when it debuted in Paris. It was considerably darker elsewhere. Due to Pusha's complete transformation into the villain, some insiders are referring to it as the Coke Bear moment. He isn't being cautious, and it will be lyrical murder if Jim continues to speak. Additionally, the setup is equally as important as the lyrics. Jim is rapping in the alleyways of Harlem over the same rhythm he was recently buried over, while Pusha is coordinating his comeback with elite spaces. Yes, you read correctly. In return, Jim attempted to flip the chains, beat the whips, and drop his own freestyle. He even hinted that No Malice was experiencing issues, which is when he went too far. Pusha is able to shoot, but without intending to offend. It is disrespectful to a man who changed his life and left rap to follow his faith. Pusha has yet to make a public response. He doesn't react quickly though, if history is any indication. He responds in a calculated manner, and it's deadly when he does. Jim then committed his worst error to date by publicly criticizing Clipse's most recent hit. While on television, he makes a final jab at Clipse and their new hit, Ace Trumpets, in an interview.
Spotify Rap Caviar podcast.
Yes.
About
Man,
Pusha T.
People don't like people, yeah, see? There we go. And then look what happens. But I'm ready for all things, man. Shouts to Pusha, shouts to that guy, shouts to the Clipse. You know what I mean? Congratulations.
Do you like the new song?
No, but you know.
You don't like Ace Trumpets?
What's so great about it?
It's so good.
It's good?
It's so, oh man.
It's good?
So yeah, there's something going on that you ain't telling us about,
it's
bro.
It's good in what? A nostalgic value of it?
You don't think Ace Trumpets is hard?
I don't believe them. But that's a whole nother story. I don't want to downplay nobody's crap.
He attempts to be cool by claiming that he has never listened to Clipse. However, he knows deep down that he was the target and that they bodied him, so the feigned calm falters, and the insecurity shows in every remark. The energy shifts at this point since Pusha and Nas are no longer the only ones involved. Jim is being shut out of society by the culture itself. He is being pulled down by the bloggers. Fans who used to support Dipset heavy are now urging him to simply stop. There was no beef here. This served as a lesson. Jim Jones was defeated by silence, chess movements, and billionaire maneuvers after entering a heavyweight ring with Nas and Pusha T. Believing he had bars to support his claim, he is no longer popular. Playlists don't contain him. In his own game, he's a ghost. The actual twist is that the next Clip hasn't even released their album yet. Perhaps that is the actual funeral. Wait until you hear what's going on if you thought this beef was crazy.